O most gracious and loving God, because you have given to us freely. It is through us that others will know that you do live. But we have come here today. We have opened our hearts up, opened our minds. So, Lord, be with us. And let the meditation of my heart, the words of my lips be acceptable in your sight. Amen. You may be seated. The gospel lesson this morning will come from the Gospel of Luke in the 19th chapter. And this is Jesus with his encounter with Zacchaeus. Hear these words. He entered Jericho and was passing through it. And a man was there named Zacchaeus. He was the chief tax collector, and he was rich. He was trying to see who Jesus was, but on account of the crowd he could not, because he was short in stature. So he ran ahead, and he climbed a sycamore tree to see him, because he was going to pass that way. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up, and he said to him, Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your house today. So he hurried down and was happy to welcome him. But all who saw it began to grumble and said, he has gone to be a guest at one who is a sinner. And Zacchaeus stood there, and he said to the Lord, look, half of my possessions, Lord, I will give to the poor. And if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I will pay back 4 times as much. Then Jesus said to him, today salvation has come to this house, because he too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek out and save the lost. These are the words of God for the people of God, and we say, thank you to God. You know the old saying, politics and religion don't mix? But then you know what? That doesn't seem to stop politicians from talking about religion. They say separation of church and state. But these past few months, politicians have been preaching a lot of sermons in our churches. And they're sitting up there exactly where the preacher should be sitting. You might be able to separate the state from the church, but you can't separate the politician from the pulpit. Many of the politicians use churches to stump for their agendas. They say they're not going to force their values on anyone. Tell me, what is faith without values? What is faith without values? What is a politician without visible values? What is life without faith? Paul said without faith, values is a resounding gong or a clashing cymbal. Now our tax collector this morning, Zacchaeus, he saw through that right away this morning. He could not be in the presence of Jesus and not be moved. He had to be moved to get rid of the things that were wrong with his life. He was a tax collector. He was a tax collector. He'd taken advantage of many, many people. He lied to them, swindled them, skimmed off the top of his collections. And most importantly of all, he ignored the poor. He ignored the poor. Now Tuesday is election day. And it's coming up for old Zacchaeus here. He walks into the election booth, puts his mark down. He's either going to vote for himself or he's going to vote for those he defrauded. Now, which one of our politicians today do you think would vote for themselves or the one they defrauded? There's a lot of that going on. He could either cast his vote for Rome or cast his vote for Christ. So come election day, I wonder who he's going to vote for. He could vote for the tax collector. He could vote for the poor. Or he could vote for Jesus. Zacchaeus is a classic study in conversion from Scrooge, who would sell his own grandmother for a nickel, to a very generous philanthropist. And what it means is there is a change so fundamental before and after meeting a character that the differences in life is like between night and day. A woman had testified to her transformation in her life that had resulted through her experiences in conversion. She declared, "I'm so happy that I got religion. I have an uncle that I hate so much, I vowed to never go to his funeral. But now I would be happy to go to his funeral." Did her attitude change? No, she got religion, so now she'd be happy to go to the funeral. She still hated the uncle. Remember last week I told you about the tax collector begging for mercy in the temple? And now we have not just a tax collector, but we got the head of the IRS here, turning his life over to Jesus. Because this morning we're going to trace back on how this black sheep made a transformation in the tracks of his own dead life. Because we got to remember, he was the chief tax collector. That means among all the tax collectors and the hated renegades, he was the most hated of them all. Because he's the one that took the Jewish brothers' money to satisfy the Roman tax demands. When the taxes got paid, they had to go to Zacchaeus. And Zacchaeus was the one to see that Rome got their money. He was the one that made sure. He was the chief tax collector. He was the baddest of the bad. In fact, he was in charge of bad. That's how bad he was. And he was hated. He made a decision to become wealthy, and to him it made no difference how he did it. He didn't care how he got there. Even if it meant cheating the poor and the oppressed, who were already beaten down. His life was more than just materialistic. He was just downright mean. He was just downright mean and nasty person. He was in all regards probably a necessary evil for the Romans. And the only thing that he had to comfort him was money. That was it. The only thing he had to comfort him. And as mean, as nasty as a person as he was, the only one he really injured was himself. The only person he could really hurt was himself.